So, this is going to be my review of What If Dark. This is another book that was sent to me by my friend Chris. First, thank you once again, brother. And yeah, so What If Dark was basically a response, totally original idea that came out shortly, well, not shortly, but like I'd say almost a year after the whole Dark multiverse stories had finished. And they were basically like what if stories, but like bad endings. So Tales of the Dark Multiverse, which I find weird because a vast majority of, especially like the 80s and 90s what if books, were like all bad endings. Like that's all they were just bad endings after bad endings. So it's kind of weird that like we're calling it What If Dark when like and yet like for real the What If was already dark. Yeah. So that was kind of the thing. It was when they announced What If Dark. I think everyone saw it, right? Like everyone saw like, oh, you guys saw Tales of the Dark Multiverse and went, we can do that. And again, I'm well aware that Marvel and DC ape off each other all the time, but sometimes it gets really blatant, especially with this book. And what can I say about What If Dark? The best thing I can say about this comic is this comic feels half-assed. Like, this entire premise feels really half-assed. And it sucks, too, because you've got some really great writers here. You got Larry Hama, you got Marv Wolfman, you got Erica Schultz, Stephanie Phillips, Jody Hauser. They do give credit to Jerry Conway, and I'll explain in a bit. And Walt Simonson. All great talents. All of them. All great talents. But it really feels like no one wanted to do this. It really does feel like minimal effort was given all around. And Chris did like this book, so I do feel like I'm gonna have to like, I hate to disagree with him, but like he always tells me to be honest, so here we go. So there's 6 stories, and the first one is what if Loki got the hammer? Like what if he stole Thor's hammer? And it is something from the Thor run. Like it actually does the whole, when Thor was battling Ulik, there was a moment where he lost the hammer, and in that moment Loki steals it. In here, they basically have it that Loki goes to Earth now that he's used like enchantments from the Norn Queen to be able to take the hammer for himself and use it without, who shall be worthy, yada yada yada. So he kills Thor, like he kills Donald Blake by stabbing him with the walking stick, which is the hammer. And then it's just a mad rush to do the entire Norn. And Walt Simonson loves his Norse mythology. Hell, IDW was where he did a version of Ragnarok. So it's just basically like Thor's gone, but which is not, because Thor, you see Thor in the underworld in several pages, and they make no attempt to like, let's call Thor or try to find a way to resurrect him. Instead, they just basically like Walt Simonson does a mad dash to do the entire Ragnarok story arc in the Marvel version, which is cool, but like it suffers from, man, we just really rushed that whole thing, didn't we? Like the whole story just feels like it's just a mad dash to get to A to B. And that's what it feels like with a lot of these books, where it just feels like you really get this feeling of, I want this comic to be done, because I didn't want to do it. Like, at least the feeling I got was, I didn't want to do this. The Jody Hauser one, which does have Jerry Conway, because the reason why is because they do something actually kind of cool. But before I go into that, look at this cover. This is from the What If Spider-Gwen story. I don't even need to tell you who did this, right? Right? Like, we can all tell by the face who did this. Land is a bad artist. There are some times where I'm like, alright, he's passable, and sometimes it works in context of the story. Sometimes. But this is just low fucking effort right here. Just a random picture of Gwen in the Spider-Gwen costume, which doesn't even show up in the comic. She's just wearing like a female version of Peter's costume. Yeah, so this is the worst cover out of all of them. Like, they should have gone with, this one. They should have gone with Venom, Ben as Venom. We'll get to that one in a minute. Yeah, So the story, reason why they bring up Jerry Conway for writing credit is because they actually take pages from that from that scene in Amazing Spider-Man where Gwen dies, like the opening scene, and it's the actual like reprints of the comic, which is cool. And then it goes to the what if moment, like the big what if moment, and it ends like on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, okay. And again, it's one of those mad dash to the end of the book. And I feel like they just weren't given enough pages or something like that. And then we get to... Chris says this is his favorite. And I was excited for it, the What If Venom story. And I read it and I was like, I hate this. I genuinely do not like this. So basically it's, as you can see from this back cover, what if Ben Grimm, the Thing, became Venom? And it's really stupid. Essentially, what happens is that we follow after the events of Spider-Man removing the symbiote from his body, and it's being kept in the Fantastic Four laboratory. And Ben arrives, and and it's basically how every person who doesn't know how to write Fantastic Four goes to, where Ben is just kind of sulking around and like, oh, my life is so bad, I'm made of rocks. And he looks at the symbiote, and he's like, cool. I don't know what this thing is because I wasn't there when Reed and Johnny, peeled it off of him, but it probably is really dangerous. Oh well, I feels bad for it. I'm gonna open it up, and the symbiote latches itself onto Ben, and it somehow, some fucking how, takes away, like it suppresses the cosmic rays that make Ben rocky. Something we've never seen in any... And I get it, it's like an alternate universe, but, like, that's a stretch. Like, I get it's an alternate universe, but, like, at no point has that ever been, like, a ability for the symbiote. And again, writers can just write whatever sometimes, I get it. Like, sometimes they can just write themselves out of a situation, but, like, have a little, like, knowledge of what you're doing. And then, who's the big villain? You think it's Doctor Doom who wants the symbiote? No, it's the Lizard. For some reason, who wants the symbiote? Yeah, the Lizard is our big villain who kills the Fantastic Four. He just sneaks in with the Venom symbiote after duping Ben, who's treated like an idiot the entire fucking book, kills Sue and Reed, and Johnny's nowhere to be found. Neither is Jen, because she was a part of the Fantastic Four at the time. And, yeah. It really just ends on a fuck you note. It's really stupid. Like, the Lizard. I like the Lizard, don't get me wrong. And also, we're using Spider-Man stuff. Why isn't Spider-Man in this book? We're using one of Spider-Man's villains to kill the Fantastic Four. The last guy you'd ever expect. Even if he gets the Venom symbiote for a hot second. And he looks like a goddamn xenomorph. Yeah. Yeah, let me just show you. Like, he does look like a fucking xenomorph. Right? Right? Anyway. The What If Tomb of Dracula is like, what if Dracula managed to turn him into a full vampire? It ends on a wet fart. The Carnage one is confusing because it doesn't really feel like a what if story. The one I thought was okay, and I thought was pretty decent, was the What If Moon Knight, where Mark was killed. What if Mark was killed by Bushman, and his girlfriend became Moon Knight instead? And it also ends on a wish we could do more, like wish we had more pages, or just stopped. Yeah. All in all, Tales of the Dark Multiverse, it does have some stinkers in it, but it does have like genuine care and like. These are great writers, and I don't want to shit talk them too much, but like every writer has a bad time, and it really does feel like this was just marching orders, and everyone feels it. Like this was just cash grab written all over it. So if you want to read dark what if stories, don't read What If Dark. Read Tales of the Dark Multiverse. There you go. That's my thoughts. So Chris, sorry I trashed this book, but you always tell me to be honest. And you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of What If Dark? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.